Hi everyone. So long story short, I am in a new place, a new environment. I'm back in Brazil. I'm gonna be here for a while. I have a job down here, so this is why the environment looks a bit different and plain and not what we're used to. So besides that, I would like to do a part 2 of my sorority story times. So now I want to talk about why I left my sorority, why I dropped it. I will give a fair warning if you guys are uncomfortable with topics about drug abuse, if you're uncomfortable with suicidal stuff, maybe this series that I'm going to do is not for you, and you can watch any other videos on my channel or just come back when I have a video not related. This is your warning to peace out, and I'll see you next time. All right, I am back. I got myself a little drink because going through this is going to trigger some memories for me, so I kind of want to go through these memories with ease. I am drinking pink lemonade with vodka. This is what I'm drinking. So okay, to get into the story, before I even talk about the sorority, I need to give you a background story of my days in college. I went to a very small college in upstate New York, in a very small town. I had no friends. Being from New York City to transitioning to such a bumfuck small town in the middle of nowhere in upstate New York, it was difficult for me. So it was my second day of college and I was already starting to feel a bit I just felt a bit lonely and depressed because I didn't know anyone. So I was like, okay, let me get out of my dorm and let me just walk around. Let me walk around campus. Maybe I'll find somebody. So as I'm walking out, I saw this girl who lives on the same hallway as me, and I wasn't really friends with her, but she randomly started talking to me, so I started talking back with her. And then she was like, hey, do you want to come with us? We're gonna go on a walk, explore the campus, see what's going on. I was like, yeah, definitely, I would love to do that. So then she was okay, we're waiting, we're just gonna wait for my friend. So her friend, I have to give her a name, we're gonna call her Blondie, right? So we're waiting on Blondie, and then Blondie comes out, and then my friend introduces me to Blondie. Blondie and I, we're introducing ourselves, and all three of us, we go on the walk, we get to know each other, and we become pretty good friends, right? So throughout my whole college life, Blondie became my best friend. We were really close friends. So that's a bit of the background story. I then started pledging, and I had Blondie, and then I had a housemate. We're gonna call her Curly. I'm sorry, I'm just describing these people by their hair. So then I had a housemate, and the funny thing is, Blondie introduced me to my housemate, which she would become my best friend. I mean, we're not close anymore, after the whole pandemic situation. Curly and I, we're not tight like we used to be, but that's okay because people tend to just, they tend to drift apart, and there's no bad blood. It's just how the world works sometimes. I was housemates with Curly, and at the time, Blondie would always come over to our house. Blondie was more than welcome. She would stay the night. We were really good friends. It was the three of us. It was me, Blondie, and Curly. We were a mini family. We were tight. We loved each other. I was pledging at the time, and Blondie and Curly thought I was insane for pledging. They really thought I was a weirdo and stuff like that. But I pledged, I made it through, and I will say this, I was so happy in my sorority. I was so happy I found my place in the sorority. I was so happy to be there. I loved the group of girls I was there with. My sorority was to me was one of the best sororities. We weren't nationals, we're locals, but my sorority was just so different. It had different types of people, it had different types of girls. My sorority was one of the most diverse sororities. Going to college in upstate New York, a lot of the sororities, not to be rude, are just typical, white girls. And my sorority, we had everything. We had white girls, we had Asians, we had blacks, we had Hispanics. We were a diverse group of girls, and besides being diverse in like skin tones, we were also just diverse personality wise. I chose a sorority to be in because, like, you know, I'm just like this little dark emo girl, and I was always confused on why like the sorority was so interested in rushing me for 2 semesters, and I was like, I don't fit the stereotypical sorority standards, but my sorority just saw something in me for like 2 semesters straight. I left the sorority in bad terms, but I am so grateful for all the memories I had in my sorority when I was happy throughout the whole thing. Like, I don't want people, if people watch this video are currently in the sorority, or people that I know from college, or if like alumni or just any other girls that are in the same sorority as me see this video, like I know I cut ties with everything and everyone, and I kind of left vaguely with no explanation. I just want to let it be known that I was so happy in the sorority. Like, you guys know that like I did anything for the sorority. Like, every time someone needed something, or like if there was like an emergency, you guys knew that I was up and about. Even if it was at 3 a.m. I was running just to do, like, everyone knows like I was really in love with the sorority. Okay, so no bad blood. It's just for people who know the story, what happened happened, and once I don't feel comfortable in an environment, I just tend to leave because, you know, my mental health comes first. That little tangent's over. And I guess Blondie and Curly saw how happy I was in my sorority. Blondie and Curly liked seeing or listening about the sorority drama, not the sorority, but like Greek life drama. They like listening about Greek life stuff, and it was obvious that they were very like interested. So for everyone that's, you know, part of Greek life, you know, every semester we start rushing, and we always throw like these parties to invite potentials to see if they're interested in us or not. What I do is I usually invite my friends, and they don't join, but that's okay. Like, I just like invite people so I don't get in trouble. But also I always tell them like it's not like mandatory for you guys to like join after. Like, just come out, hang, meet the girls, make it look like I have friends, you know. So I invited Blondie and Curly. I'm like, oh, you guys should come out to the party and just hang with us, you know. And at first they were hesitant, but then like Blondie was really like, oh, like, I really want to go. She was talking to Curly, she's like, we should do it, we should try, like, let's do it, let's try. And then Curly was like, okay. So, you know, they got dressed, they had fun, they went out, they, you know, they were drinking, dancing, whatever you do at Rush. And I guess they enjoyed it so much, and they loved talking to my other fellow sisters, that they decided they wanted to rush. They decided they wanted to join. They wanted to be part of my sorority. And I was so happy. I was very, very happy. I was like, oh my God, now my best friends are gonna be in Greek life with me. It was just like the best thing ever. They started pledging and stuff. And this is where things kind of changed, because so for people in Greek life, I'm sorry if you're not in Greek life and I'm being very vague. It's like, I want to tell you things, but I can't tell you everything. So Blondie and Curly's pledge class was very weird, not weird, but they were very like scared. And I don't know why, because they had like the sweetest and most caring PM. If you guys don't know what PM is pledge mistress. She is basically your mom. She's the one that's gonna guide you through your process. She's the one that's gonna help you when you need something, when you need someone to talk to. She's basically your mom, right? Think of your mom, but in like a 20-something-year-old who's just guiding you through your whole pledging process. They were just like scared. Like, I don't know. They were expecting the worst every time they went to the house to pledge. I have no idea why, because I wasn't there for a lot of their pledging process. Like, I was there for like the first week, and then maybe if they needed us in the middle of the week. But then throughout the pledging process, I was getting a lot of like complaints from older sisters about Blondie's behavior, and I was confused because what they were saying it just didn't match Blondie. For example, they were saying like Blondie was always like scared, or she was like zoning in and out, or they were saying things like she was just rocking back and forth, and I was a bit confused. So I talked to Curly about it, my housemate. I was like, oh, so how's like pledging going, like how's everything? She's like, everything is fine, like we're doing good. It's just like sometimes Blondie will start randomly panicking and she doesn't know why. Curly found that annoying by Blondie, but then Curly also brought up that it's very strange, like this behavior is starting out of nowhere. Besides that, throughout the pledging process, you become friends with, like, you know, your pledge sisters. So, oh my god, I have to give this girl a name. So Blondie became really close to this girl named, I'm gonna name them my hair color because they all just I don't know what's wrong with me. But Blondie became really close to a girl, I'm gonna call her Redhead. Redhead liked Blondie, but she liked Blondie in a romantic way. And Blondie was not interested in Redhead like that. But the issue is like Blondie can't say no, and I understand that. Like, I'm also that type of way where like you can't say no to somebody because you feel bad, and you don't want to hurt the person's feelings. Even if it makes you uncomfortable, you just don't say no because you don't want to make the person feel bad. Like, I understand that from Blondie because I'm the same type of way. Like, I'm the same type of person. It's really hard to give advice to somebody like that when you have the same problems. I almost find it hypocritical, like the advice we're trying to give her, because like I'm in the same boat as her. When Blondie was explaining to us that Redhead was basically, you know, trying to get a move like with her. She was trying to slide in her DMs. She was trying to, you know, invite her back to her dorm. I guess Blondie's honestly just not interested in women. So Blondie didn't know how to make that clear to her, and we were telling Blondie like, you kind of have to just let her know you're not interested in girls, because it's gonna continue and it's gonna get worse, and the more you say yes to this, the more she might think that you like girls. And of course Blondie never did anything. Like, Blondie would go to her dorm, sleep with her, and Blondie would say how not like sleep with her, you know, just lay in the bed next to her, and you know, Redhead would try to like cuddle and Blondie was like feeling uncomfortable, like things like that. Redhead was starting to confess her feelings for Blondie, and Blondie didn't know what to do or didn't know what to say. She didn't know how to say, hey, I don't like you like that. That was happening, and the sorority started to notice, and like the sorority just wanted to know like if they were gonna be together or not. And I think that made Blondie like even more anxious. Like, Blondie was just freaking out. And the thing is, like, they were together 24/7. Like, these people were fucking together. They were so together. At one point Redhead was like a semi-resident. She was also just at one point living with us, because Blondie was always with us, and then it was us four always together. And then, you know, the pledging continues, the pledging process goes on, and then the girls get in. They get in, they're fall 18. Fall 18 gets in. Congrats to fall 18. Woo, fall 18, we're happy for them. So we throw a party for fall 18 for officially becoming sisters. And this is where the first sign of shit hitting the fan. Out of nowhere, Blondie, she's having her first panic attack mid-party. We're all just confused. Blondie has her first panic attack mid-party. Of course, we're all confused and we're all concerned. Like, she was fine throughout the party, and in the middle of the party she kind of like starts freaking out, and no one knows why. And of course everyone is trying to help her. They're trying to ask her if she's okay, what's wrong. People are trying to, like, you know, have like private conversations, see what they can do to help her. She's not responsive at all. Redhead would come and just take her out and say, oh no, like, you guys, I'll talk to her, it's fine, whatever. And we're like, oh, okay, go ahead. And the thing is, like, this came back to me. People were asking me questions. People were like, oh, like, what happened? Why is she acting like that? Does she usually act like that? I was confused myself. I was like, no, doesn't act like that, not at all. I don't know what happened. I don't know. I was confused just like everyone else. And then, you know, Blondie and Redhead are just inseparable at this point. I feel like Redhead, she was very much throughout this time versus the evolution of the story. I don't want to like label this, but in the beginning I would say Redhead was very, I don't know if the word is controlling, but she basically had a lot of influence over Blondie. Like a lot of Blondie's decisions weren't made by her. A lot of Blondie's decisions were made by Redhead, I guess is the best way I can put it. It's really hard to say the story because I feel lost and confused when I don't know what causes a person to turn against you. But after that, like, we were having another mixer, and mixers are just parties. I'm trying not to use too much like Greek life words if you're not in Greek life. I don't want you guys to be like, oh, what is that? But we had another mixer with a fraternity, and this one was kind of weird. And once again, partying, everything is fine, and then Blondie starts just shaking, like, not, I don't know how to describe it, but she puts herself in a corner and she's like rocking back and forth, and I don't remember, so I can't do it, but like her legs, she had her legs up and she was rocking back and forth like this, and she would just go like this. When you would ask her a question, she was like this, like, and no one knew why. Like, we don't know, like, she was literally doing this. It got to the point where basically like the boys like noticed, and they were like concerned but also confused, but they also wanted her like to stop because she was drawing attention and people were kind of just looking at her. The older pledge sisters took her out. Like, they just like removed her from the situation, and I'm not sure what happened, but I guess I had a talk with her, and I don't know what was a talk about. Like, Curly and I tried to talk to Blondie multiple times, like asking her like, is she okay, what's going on, like, is there anything happening back home, or like, is there something going on, because this is not normal behavior from her. Like, at the time, I think we've been friends for like a year or two, and we've never experienced this side of her. So we were genuinely concerned because there is something going on, or there's something triggering these emotions, these responses. She refused to tell me and Curly, but I assume Redhead knew everything, and I don't know what Curly and I did that she lost confidence in us, people that she knew for 2 years versus someone that she just met in a couple of months. But hey, who am I to judge? Getting a bit annoyed, I was getting a bit frustrated because every time she had these like lash outs or these little breakouts, I don't know what you call them, people would come back to me. Like, you know, people would be like, why is she acting like this? And it kind of frustrated me because my sisters were looking at me like, oh, you rushed a weirdo, you rushed a crazy person, you know? So everything she did, it came back to me, and I was getting like frustrated, but at the same time I was just as confused as everyone else because I don't know why she's doing that. I don't know. And then this is where our relationship started to change. Like, I was kind of distancing myself, but also at the time I had a boyfriend and I was hanging out with my boyfriend more. So I was not only distancing myself because of the weird situation, but I was also distancing myself because I was more focused on my boyfriend at the time. Sorry if you hear a lot of, I'm like sick right now. I was tired of trying to help her and no response, no nothing from her. And then I was tired of my own sisters like coming to me and like, what the fuck's wrong with your friend? Like, can you fix your friend? And I didn't know what to do. Like, I was so tired, literally tired. And I'm not sure if me distancing myself was the trigger for her to act the way she acted towards me, but this is when shit hits the fan, honestly. Guys, I'm really trying to piece the story together, but I don't know what happened, so I can only tell you my side of the story, and you're gonna listen to this, like, there's a whole gap missing. I don't know if maybe I've released my frustration out with someone, to a sister maybe, about Blondie and how I'm tired of her like doing all this because it's coming back to bite me. I don't know if someone said something to her. Like, I cannot tell you why she switched the way she switched. And maybe one day Blondie will see this, and maybe Blondie would make a response video and expose me, which, fair enough, I would like to see it because I need to know all the wrongdoings I did, if I did anything. Maybe I did something, I don't know. So then, like, one day, you know, Blondie just like was like, fuck us, you know, she wasn't really talking to us anymore and stuff. So after, you know, Blondie's little mental breakdowns throughout way too many Vexers, the sorority was like over it. The sorority was done. We had like a whole meeting during chapter, and they didn't like direct it towards her. They just made it as a general announcement, but it was so obvious it was towards her because she was the only one doing it. But basically there was like a meeting saying if you're having like mental health issues, or if you're like mentally not stable enough to be at a mixer, just to let anyone know, let the president know, let the PM know, let anyone know that, hey, I cannot go to this because mentally I'm not stable, or mentally I'm just not there. And like, I don't know, Blondie was so embarrassed by this. Like, Blondie became super red. She was just so red, and then she kind of like put herself in a corner during the meeting, and it didn't help that everyone just kind of looked at her because we kind of knew that was towards her. And from that day on, she just completely changed. She wasn't talking to me. I didn't say anything or comment on anything. Next weekend we had a mixer, and it was a mixer with a fraternity I don't like, and I was with my big sister the whole time. And for people who don't know, a big sister is basically when you're pledging, you have your sorority mom, of course, but then you have a big sister. It's like someone that takes care, like a big sister, someone that takes care of you, someone that gives you little gifts and stuff, someone that gives you your nickname that you wear, that you have throughout your whole sorority life, like someone who is just as important as your mom, but there's more of a personal connection with your big sister versus your mom. For example, if you want to like talk shit about your mom because you hated pledging that day, you would go to your big sister. You would just like, I fucking hate it that she did this, she made us do this, I hate it that she, like, you know, it was your big sister is just also someone who's there for you when you need it. I'm sorry guys, I'm like sick, especially in the nose area, so if I sound crazy, I'm sorry. So I was with my big sister the whole night. Like, I remember, because my big sister doesn't even like this fraternity either. We were literally just standing in the hallway and talking, and then out of nowhere an older sister comes up to me and she was like, oh, Jasmine, why are you threatening to hit Blondie here in front of everyone? And I'm looking at her like, she crazy. My big sister looking at her like she's fucking crazy too, because I'm like, what? And then she was like, yeah, everyone's talking about it. Like, why are you trying to start a fight at the mixer? And I'm like, I'm looking at her like, no, I am not trying to start a fight here. Like, I'm okay. Like, I'm not angry. And for people who know me, I'm not aggressive. I am not an aggressive person. I don't believe in violence. I don't believe in this. So it was just a shock. It was a shock to me, a shock to everyone. Well, the first thing I did was I tried to look for Blondie. And maybe that wasn't the best idea, but I really wanted to know where she got this information from. Because I was a bit frustrated, but I was like, bro, like, I don't want to fight you. Like, what? I don't fight people. I was trying to find her. And then I had like the president of the sorority at the time. She came up to me. She was like, what's your problem? Why are you starting stuff? Why are you starting drama at a mixer? And I'm like, I don't want to fight her. I want to talk to her. Like, I don't know where you got this information from. I'm trying to find out where she got that information from. So then, like, I find Blondie, and she, oh my god, like, she just ran away. She ran away from me. And I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And then, like, it got to a point where one of the brothers had to like hold her, basically be her security guard from me, and walk her to like one of his rooms to calm her down because she was freaking out. She was having a whole mental breakdown. And I was like, okay. So then I just told like the president, I was like, I'm leaving the mixer early because I am not sure where this information came from. I don't know who started this rumor, who started like the drama, but I don't want to fight. I have nothing against her, I know our our friendship isn't like the best, but I've never threatened violence towards her. I'm obviously making people uncomfortable, and people are looking at me with like a stank face, which is making me uncomfortable, so I'm gonna go. Whatever. I go home and, you know, I texted Blondie. I was like, hey, like, why did you say that? Okay, I'm telling you a nice version because I am pretty sure I sent something completely different. I don't know if it's on this phone or the other phone, but I also don't think I have any of the messages anymore. But I kind of in a rude way said, oh, all my messages are like gone. Maybe it's in my old phone, but I basically was like, why did you tell people it's gonna beat you up? Well, let me look for my old. Right, let me see. No, all of my messages, like, they're all gone. Yeah, even like anything I've said mentioning her name. Like, I think I'm so traumatized by this, what this girl has done to me. I like scraped it, but whatever. So I guess in a mean, aggressive way, I did text her, why are you telling everyone I'm trying to beat you up? And then she responded that basically she was having a whole mental breakdown because the guy who was, there's like a brother at the mixer that she said she felt uncomfortable with, and that she was so uncomfortable that she had to be taken away into another room, and like she needed to calm down because she felt so uncomfortable with this boy being there. Okay, that explains one part of the story, right? But it didn't explain where this rumor came from that I was trying to beat her up. Like, it doesn't explain the situation. So then I'm assuming that Blondie showed this text to one of like another sorority sister. I'm gonna call her, if you know from my old Storytime, Boxer, the girl, she just likes to box. I guess she told Boxer, and then Boxer came up to me like the next day and she was like, you know, we're not children, we're not little kids to be sending messages and asking. Like, if you have something to say it to someone's face, you know, whatever. But the issue was, how can I talk to somebody who's running away from me? How can I talk to someone that's constantly running away from me? And then we had a stupid meeting about this. It was a whole sorority meeting about how to bring drama into mixers. And I was just like, whatever, man. What fucking ever. Like, everyone knew it was about me and Blondie, but I'm just like, fuck is going on? Like, till this day, I don't know who said I wanted to hit that girl. Never in my life I wanted to hit that girl. But today I might want to hit her because she really destroyed my reputation. Like, she destroyed me as a person. So today, yes. If you ask me if I want to hit her, I'm like, yes, now I want to hit her. My friendship with that girl was like, I'm fucking done. I'm done. I don't want anything to do with her. I don't care for her. And yeah, so then like I was starting to be seen as the bad guy in the sorority, and I didn't have much friends. Like, she was turning my own pledge class against me. Of course, I've had a lot of sisters who are neutral, and which is fine, but like being in the same room with her as her was very uncomfortable. Like, she became a mean girl, especially if it was her and Redhead. Like, they made it their mission to purposely make me feel uncomfortable. Like, they made it their goal, and they were like saying, well, they didn't say it to my face, but I've heard from other sisters, they called me fat. They called me and Curly fat bitches, ugly fat bitches. Like, not to be rude, but Redhead was fucking fat too. I don't know where like, no body shaming, whatever, but we ain't no size 2 models for Redhead to be. Redhead was probably the same weight as me at the time. The girl was fat too. They think they're shit, blah blah blah. And the thing was, like, they dragged Curly into this because Curly and I were best friends. We were best friends, but like, this drama had nothing to do with Curly. Curly was, you know, my best friend. She was on my side because it was kind of like weird. And also, like, we knew Blondie. Like, we knew her. Like, we knew her before this, and she's completely changed. So of course Curly's like also like, what the fuck? But they got Curly involved, and the Curly's like hot-headed sometimes. So I'm like, why? Like, why are you calling her fat bitch? Like, why are you calling her a fat bitch? Like, why are you like bringing people into fights? Like, why are you bringing people who had nothing to do with this into like your drama? Little by little, the sorority is turning against me. They are thinking that I'm a bully. And the crazy thing is, I still don't understand from this point of the story, like this point of the story, I still don't understand what I did. And later on in the story, I have done stuff that will justify me being a dickhead, but for this part of the story, it's still very blank. I don't know what I've done. So then, yeah, I had a co-little, and new word, co-little. Co-little is basically when your big sister takes on another little. I hope you guys understand this if you're not in Greek life. If you're in Greek life, you're good to go. But so I have a big sister, and then I'm the little. And then I have a co-little. A co-little is someone who is also like your sister, but they're like the younger sister because they either pledged after you, but you can also be a co-little and have someone who pledged before you, so you're like the younger sister, but you guys are like connected, you're co-little. She also thought Blondie's behavior was weird, and let me tell you, Blondie's amazing. She needs to this girl, I'm telling you, she needs to get a career in acting, because she got my co-little to turn on me and hate me, and my co-little knew who I was as a person, and to this day, I don't understand what my co-little was told for her to, you know? So, bro, I don't know, Blondie, if you see this, I mean, don't contact me. Please don't contact me. Don't do anything. But I want you to know that I think you should become an actress because you're really good. You're really good at it. You're really fucking good. That's all I have to say. So one night we had a mixer, and this was the biggest shit show of a mixer. You know, throughout this whole craziness, I really gave that girl her space. Like, I was giving this girl her space so much, when she entered the room, I would leave. Like, I would just leave. Just so I don't have no problems. I don't want to hear anything. Like, I don't want this. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear about Jasmine's blah, 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 blah. I would fucking leave the fucking room. One day we had a mixer, and then once again this girl is having attacks. She's having panic attacks. She's doing all this. The new crazy thing is Redhead and Blondie started signing. They made up their own sign language, and they would start signing to each other at the mixers, or they would sign to each other during meeting at the house, and people were finding it weird and they were ignoring her. But it became an issue when we have a sister who's actually hard of hearing, and she was really upset because it's offensive to her. She started saying like they don't know sign language, that's not sign, and she was like, she basically wanted them to stop because she found it offensive, and she's like, how there's actual deaf people in the world, and them doing that, it was just like offending her. So then they have a meeting about don't sign at mixer, and don't sign at meetings. If you need to communicate, text each other or communicate like a normal person, because people are upset with the signing. I don't know. That part had nothing to do with me, but you know, once again, Blondie was really embarrassed and triggered by this, and it made her so upset she started crying. And this is the thing, like I don't know why. Like, why? It's like you do something wrong and you don't want to get like reprimanded for it. I feel like though, after her first outburst, I feel like if she did something wrong, maybe like address it privately, because it's obvious she can't handle it being said in public. Although during the meetings, when people do something wrong, they talk about it. They don't like direct it to the person. They like say it in a vague statement for everyone, but it's like, okay, we know who you're talking about and we know who this message is for, you know? So that really upset her, and she just like kind of stormed off. So then we had another mixer, and this was the breaking point where I stopped being friends with her, Curly stopped being friends with her, and my co-little was like, fuck this bitch. We had a regular mixer. Everything was going super fine. The house is big enough. I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna be upstairs while Blondie's downstairs. Avoid this girl as much as possible. That was my thinking. Like, avoid her, try not to talk to her, or just try to avoid her, let her do her thing. And this night in particular, Blondie once again had a mental breakdown. She was in a corner, like rocking back and forth, holding her head like this. She's doing it again. And it was so severe to the point where I don't know why, but my sisters came to me and they're like, Jasmine, come downstairs, please come downstairs, you need to see Blondie. I go downstairs and I see Blondie and I just see her in the corner rocking, and they were like, oh, try to talk to her because she's not talking to us. And I mean, our friendship is not non-existent at this point, but I was like, you know, Blondie, like, are you okay? Like, do you need something? Like, do you want to go outside? Like, do you need fresh air? Is there anything I can do for you? And she's just like this no. And then out of nowhere, freaking redhead pushes me out the way. She's like, I know what to do, I'm her best friend. And we're like, okay. And then they start fucking signing. They do the weird, I don't know, they like throwing up gang signs and shit, I don't know. And then one of the older sisters, the one that's hard of hearing, is angry that this is happening again. But then, like, this was so bad because everyone was watching. One of the brothers went up to the president and asked the president, why are you inviting deaf girls to the party? Okay, I shouldn't laugh, that's bad, but... And then the president was like so embarrassed because these girls aren't fucking deaf, but they're like signing to each other. And then like the president was like, no, oh my god, no, I'm so sorry, they're just going through something, like we're gonna take them home. She made some lame excuse. So, you know, out of nowhere, while redhead is trying to calm Blondie down and trying like, hey, like, talk to me, what's wrong? Out of fucking nowhere, Blondie gets up, runs. She just runs out of the house. And at this point, it was like February, it was snowing. If you know upstate New York, like, shit, it was snowing hard that night, and you know, half of the house is chasing after her because she's obviously having some breakdown panic attack, and she just ran out in the street while it's like snowing. So we're all chasing after her and we're all trying to talk to her, and then I didn't know what to do. And she's almost like a child throwing a temper tantrum. She's kicking the snow, she's throwing herself on snow, and a lot of the older sisters were trying to talk to her and telling her to, you know, get up. And I'm trying to tell Blondie, I was like, Blondie, like, I live right here, like, let's go to my house, let's get you to sleep, I don't know. The issue was Curly had the keys, but Curly and my co-little, they went to go get food, so that my house was locked. I had to call Curly. I was like, Curly, where are you? She was like, I'm getting food. And I was like, we have an issue, we have Blondie here in the streets kicking snow, screaming, crying, and we need to get her in the house. And I love Curly. Curly was like, I'm so tired of her shit, I'm ordering food, I'm not gonna drop my food and to get this just to open the door for her, like, I'm not gonna do it, you guys are just gonna have to wait, you're gonna have to wait. So I was like, fuck. And then I didn't know what to do, so then I told the older sisters, I was like, well, I don't have the keys, Curly has the keys, and Curly's basically not coming until her food's ready. And they were just so mad about that. Like, I understand both sides in a way. I didn't know what else to do, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna call Blondie's roommate because Blondie's still dormed. So we're gonna call her teacher because she's a teacher. So I called teacher and I was like, teacher, you need to come get your roommate. And I was explaining to her everything, and I was like telling her, I was like, honestly, for the past couple of months, this girl's been having mental breakdowns and I don't know why. And then, you know, teacher, she was like, okay. And teacher was so nice. Like, she came to dry, she drove to, like, literally, guys, we were in the middle of the street, like in the middle of the town. Anyone can see this, the police can be called, because I was surprised the police wasn't called, because what was happening was like a person literally was running, screaming, maybe they thought she was drunk, so maybe that's why like people didn't put two and two together. But we literally had a person having a whole panic attack, mental break, I don't know, but she basically mentally, she was going through everything, she was going through the world. So teacher, she was driving, and she was like, well, I'm gonna bring her asthma pump because I know she's like probably breathing really hard. And Blondie did have like a severe asthma. Like, she's the type of girl, like, she would run and she would need her pump. Like, she had really bad asthma. And then I told my sorority sisters and I told Blondie, I was like, your roommate's coming to pick you up, like, your roommate's coming. I don't know why, but that triggered Blondie so much. Like, this girl, she was like screaming no and continued running, and I was shocked. And at the time, I didn't know teacher that well. Like, I just knew they were roommates, but all the interactions I had with teacher beforehand, she seemed very nice. Like, she was a nice girl. So this night was the first night actually where I got to know teacher better. Basically, so teacher came, she like pulled up, and Blondie refused to get in the car. She refused to get in the freaking car. And you know, teacher's like, come on, get in the car. I have your asthma pump, like, please get in the car. Redhead comes out of nowhere. She's like, no, she's not gonna get in the car. No, she's gonna come with me. We're gonna go get sandwiches at Subway. Like, no, you guys aren't doing anything. And Redhead's like, I told you guys don't know. You guys don't know. I know how to handle this. You don't know how to handle anything. And then out of nowhere, like, you know, Redhead holds Blondie's hands and she calmed down. They walked away. They walked away and they got sandwiches at Subway. There was like 10 of us on in the street, in the middle of the street, looking at like, what the fuck? Like, what just happened? And then, you know, after all of that, Curly and my co-little come back. They come back eating their fucking, I don't know, oh, they went to go get tacos. They were eating their tacos and they're like, okay, like, what's going on here? Why is everyone out? And I just looked at her and I was like, let's go inside. And then, you know, we told teacher she can park her car and like to just, let's all of us just go inside and talk. We started talking and explaining the situation to teacher. We're like, we don't know why, but Blondie is just having mental breakdowns, panic attacks. She's shaking, she's doing this. And then this is the moment where teacher told us how Blondie is really like depressed and suicidal, and she was saying that how one day Blondie said how she always carries rocks with her, so one day she can like drown herself in the lake. And that teacher also said she needed to confiscate a lot of pocket knives because Blondie was like cutting herself, self-harming, and how Blondie was also mixing oxys with alcohol. She also said that Blondie doesn't sleep in the dorm anymore. Like, she's been alone for a very long time, like, because she's always with Redhead. And we had no idea this was happening. Like, we had no idea. So we were just shocked. And I felt like I failed as a friend because I guess I wasn't a good enough friend for her to tell me all this. Like, I guess I wasn't that good of a friend, and it made me sad to hear all this, but it also kind of explained like some of the situations. Maybe she was acting like crazy like this. Maybe it's from mixing the alcohol and oxys. I don't know. I don't do that stuff. I felt really sad, and I felt, I don't know, I just felt like I wasn't a good friend. I just felt sad. But you know, like, we decided to tell the president